Hey everyone, Mitch coming in for the Commander Score Studio. Welcome to the show. So on this episode, well, unlike the previous episode where I talked about a card that pretty much no one, I imagine, expected, this one is very much an expected card, but with an unexpected expectation, let's say. So let's jump into it. Yes, we finally have the Green God. Yeah, I could say that most players out there, maybe everyone who's been following spoiler season, has expected to see a Green God because, well, we got all the other gods from all the other colors. Now they're like, oh, cool, yeah, here's the green one. So, yeah, let's see it. A 6/5 Legendary Creature God with Trample that costs just 5 mana. Look at you, green. More power than your mana value. Yeah, good for you. Whenever it deals combat to a player, reveal that many cards to the top of your library. You may put a creature card and or a land card, boring, from among them on the battlefield with the rest of them in a random order. When it dies, returns to the battlefield tapped and transformed under its own control. Okay, I kind of joked right there when I said boring, but the goal obviously isn't to hit a land off the top of the library and be like, now watch this, ramp. I mean, green loves ramp, yes, and at a minimum, that's nice. Like, you know, if you don't hit any creatures, but you hit a land, yeah, you'll take it. That's great. But more likely, you're going to be like, yeah, I'd like to just smash someone in the face for a lot of damage, and then, big creature off the top. Yay! Yeah, that's the goal. That's the goal. You want to get more power. You want to get through with damage. Obviously, you already have trample, so that's nice and a great starting point. But of course, some evasiveness would be nice. Maybe some unblockability, like a Rogue's Passage. Cool. Get it through. Hit a player for a ton. Maybe even take them out in the process. And then also, yeah, have a stack of cards this big that you get to look through and then say, cool, giant creature card. Boop. In play. Yeah, land would be nice sometimes, but, you know, more likely, yeah, giant creatures. Now, let's look at the transform side of this one because, well, it's interesting to see what the activation requirement is on these. It's a land that taps for a single green mana, and it says pay 2 and a green tap. Transform it. But wait, what's the requirement? All these other gods have a good requirement, not a good requirement, but at least some kind of a requirement. Activate only if you control 10 or more permanents in all his sorcery. What? Wizards. Okay. Let me just sit you down real quick. I understand that there's like different power levels between these gods, but like one of your requirements is that like no one has a hand. I mean, one or fewer cards, right? That's one of them. One's attacking with 3 creatures. Okay, that's pretty easy. One is like get time counters off of it, kind of like delay, take some time, at least some setup to get there. Can't remember the other one. But this one is like no requirement at all. You just basically just said, yeah, let's just not put a requirement on it because the City's Blessing, which, yeah, we've talked about before, maybe it's okay. And the answer probably is, well, it's not for Commander. That requirement is for other. Okay, these gods are for Commander. Come on. These are just like the typical Commander, like, hey, like do something really cool, really awesome, and also this god's hard to deal with. Yeah, Commander players absolutely love that. In the back requirement is like, nothing. Absolutely nothing. There's got to be someone at Wizards that is just such a big green fanboy that they're like, this is good. This is completely fine. Don't tell anyone. No requirement. Yeah, City's Blessing, easy to get. So basically, when this god is dealt with, it's just going to be flipping again. Because, yeah, you're in green and you're playing Commander. And of course, you've got access to, 4 mana? I mean, 3 mana plus tapping the land itself. And obviously, again, getting 10 or more permanents in play is super easy. So, what in the world, Wizards? Okay, anyways, that doesn't really take away from how cool this commander is. But again, it's just inconsistent because it's just strange. It's just strange. It's just like, why? Give it some kind of a requirement. Maybe like, hey, you need like 10 lands in play or something. That would have been a requirement. That would take some work to get to. Huh? Okay, anyways. This is a commander that obviously you're going to be like, yeah, let's get a lot of power. Let's get some evasiveness on it potentially. Let's get it through. Let's get some massive creatures in the deck. Maybe find ways to set the top of your library as well. Get some massive things out and demolish your opponents. Yeah, just a green deck essentially all in general. So there you go. Now, with all that said, let's talk about the budget buys and the pricier base cards are less than our cards that are more than $1 that I'd be considering for this commander. If you are interested in this commander, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Now, with all that said, let's jump into those cards. First up in the budget buys, not a creature or a land. Key of the City. An artifact for just 2 mana. Tap, discard a card up to 1 target creature can be blocked this turn. Why'd they take away the unblockable keyword? I don't know. The target creature's unblockable. Basically exact same thing, right? When it becomes untapped, you can pay 2 if you do draw a card. So cool. You've got some looting, or I guess I should say rummaging. It's a delayed rummaging effect, but most importantly, again, yeah, unblockability for your commander. That is massive. That is huge. Again, instead of it being, let's say that you trample over a 4/4 or something like that, right? That's 2 damage to an opponent. That's 2 cards you get to look at. Now, instead of that, your commander's unblockable, goes through for 6 damage, and all of a sudden, yeah, triple the amount of cards you get to look at and choose again. Hopefully a big, juicy creature to cheat into play. Obviously, if you can increase the power, even better. Moving on, how about a creature that can help as well? Bellowing Tangleworm. This card, I think, just needs to see even more play. If you are running a green deck that has creatures, it's incredibly beneficial to have this. A 4/4 worm with Intimidate that has other green creatures you control of Intimidate, which means that those creatures cannot be blocked except by artifact and or creatures that share a color with it, and basically green creatures, right? So essentially, against certain players, your commander and your entire army, except for, colorless creatures that you might have, are going to be unblockable. And again, when your commander can get through and be like, cool, more value, get a big creature off the top of my library, yay! Potentially a green creature, yeah, that can be absolutely massive. So yeah, Bellowing Tangleworm, a crazy cool card. Next up, Blackblade Forge, very simple, very effective, very reprinted, so it's very budget friendly. +1/+1 for each land you control, simple equip cost for a legendary creature. Yeah, slap this on your commander and all of a sudden you're probably at twice as much damage. And therefore, yeah, you can get even more damage through in combat with that trample. Or again, if you get evasiveness on it, you can get through for the full effect. Get a lot more cards off the top of the library. Also protected in combat too, so that's pretty huge as well. And speaking of which, Fire Shrieker. Yeah, giving double strike to your commander is pretty impactful. There are only so many ways to give double strike in green, unfortunately, or I guess probably fortunately for a lot of players playing against green decks. But yeah, give your commander double strike. This is going to pay off and then some. Again, the first strike damage is very good at protecting your commander. And then also that second one is just like, hey, yeah, let's get that trigger. Let's get that trigger again. Because yeah, double strike works in amazing ways where it's like, okay, yeah, I hit a player twice, which means I get my commander's combat damage trigger twice if I got through on that player. And therefore, yeah, I get 2 things off the top of my library, potentially 2 massive creatures for the price of 1. And yeah, choose your weapon. Again, this commander can very easily turn into a 2-shot, if not a 1-shot KO on players. This can be a great sneaky way to be like, your opponent might think they're safe, and all of a sudden you're like, double target creature's power touch on turn. I mean, or I guess you could destroy it, or not destroy, 5 damage to creature flying. More likely you're gonna use that first part though. 3 mana, hey, double up your commander, and all of a sudden, commander's hitting for a lot more. Again, at base level, it's hitting for 12, which is half, more than half for commander damage for an opponent. But also, again, it just makes it so you have even more cards to pick through and say, yeah, let's get this giant one and just do some work with it. Speaking of giant ones, yeah, let's talk about some high converted mana cost creatures that you would love to cheat and play. Archetype of Endurance, a fantastic one, a 6/5 boar, biggie, for 8 mana. Creatures you control have hexproof. Creature opponents control lose hexproof, can't have or gain hexproof. Essentially, all the hexproof is mine. And all your creatures are protected from a lot of things. Target removal is not a big deal now anymore for you. And also on top of that, yeah, your opponents can't have hexproof, so too bad for you. But yeah, great creature to cheat and play. Speaking of which, Stonehoof Chieftain. 8/8 trample indestructible for 8 mana. That's just what green does. And also on top of that, by the way, green's like, yeah, cool. Whenever a creature control attacks against trample indestructible too. So your army becomes incredibly hard to deal with in combat, if not impossible. Your commander is protected in combat as well. And also that trample, yeah, it doesn't help your commander, but it helps your other creatures as well. On top of this just being a massive threat in and of itself. So there you go. It says Centaur Warrior, but the legs look like an elephant. I don't know. Anyway, speaking of elephants, Terastodon, 9/9 elephant for 8 mana. ETBs, draw up to 3 target non-creature permanents. For each permanent put engraver this way, they get a 3/3 elephant. Cool, good for you. You get your tiny little elephants. I've got my big giant army, and I'm going to swing through at you. A lot of value from that ETB, taking out a lot of important non-creature things. And also, keep in mind, yeah, with this, just be careful. Be careful on these, like, oh yeah, you get to put a creature into play from the top card library, or land, I should say. It is not a cast. You do not get to cast it, therefore it's not a cast trigger. So certain cards out there where you're like, oh my gosh, I can't wait for this one. make sure that if it is an ETB, it's not a cast requirement, okay? Just make sure, please. But how about a Death Trigger? We got Phyrexian Triniform, a 9/9 for 9 mana that doesn't do anything unless it dies. When it dies, you get 3/3/3s. So yeah, you can fill the board with that. And also you can Encore to fill the board even further again with 9/9s that when they die again, you get more 3/3s. So yeah, a big impactful card right there. And of course, well, yeah, even on a budget, you got Eldrazi, Pathrazor of Ulamog. A 9/9 Eldrazi for 11. Man, you don't really want to pay that, so you don't have to with this commander again. You just cheat it and play. Annihilator 3. Gross on an uncommon. Really, Wizards? Wow. Whenever it attacks, if player sacrifices 3 permanents. Brutal. Top of that can't be blocked except by 3 more creatures, so your opponents really have to dedicate a lot of resources to block it, and therefore, yeah, they might not be able to block your commander, which is coming through to get even more things into play. Next up, let's move on to the pricier picks. Again, cards outside of my budget, but might be within yours. Cards more than $1. And actually, Unnatural Growth, I did not realize, is down less than $2 at this point. Keep those reprints coming! Enchantment for 5 mana, but, I mean, it's pretty restricted. But you don't care. You're in a mono green deck. You can pay that green, right? Beginning of each combat, double the power touch of each creature you control till end of turn. What's better than having a massive army of massive creatures? Having a massive army of massive creatures that double every single time you go to combat. Actually, anyone goes to combat. It's everyone's combat, right? And all of a sudden, again, your commander's power becomes more and more and more, making it more easy to get through that trample, or again, take out opponents, or again, yeah, utilize to get a ton of damage through when it's evasive. Moving on. Hey, another doubling effect. We keep getting these. Zolpendrol, Hunger Dominus, a great one to cheat and to play with your commander. 4 or 6 for 7 mana reach. If you have combat, tell them power toughness of each creature you control. You can also pay Phyrexian Green, sacrifice 2 other creatures and get into destruct counter on this, so you can protect this as well, which might be nice to do because, hey, if this stays in play, your commander is going to be much more effective, and the rest of your team's going to be much more effective as well. And how about one more? Just to mention, oh my gosh, this is $58? I mean, I guess it hasn't come out yet, but still. Okay, that price might adjust. Sorry. That threw me off a little bit. Ledger Artifact for, well, in this deck, it's going to be green. Because it's 6 green, but the spells cost X less cast for the greatest power creature you control. Even with just your commander, which again costs 5 mana, has 6 power, reduces this to just 2 mana. There you go. Whenever one or more non-token creatures you control die, you get a green fungus dinosaur. Base power types equal to the total power of those creatures. Cool. You can get giant dinosaur fungus things. Also, on top of that, pay 2 tap, double target creature's power until end turn. This does a lot of things, and again, one of those things it does says, hey, my commander is hitting for twice as much. I say commander, but I guess your other things as well. Next up, Worldly Tutor. Yeah, you get some sick tutors when you go up in price as well. $9 Worldly Tutor. Instant for a single green mana, search life for a creature card, reveal it, shuffle it, put it on top. Now, most of the time when you have these kinds of tutors that, like, get it on top of your library, you're like, well, it'd be better if it went in my hand. In this case, it's much better that goes on top because you're like, oh, okay, my commander's about to deal combat damage to you. Triggers on the stack or whatever. Okay, cool. I'll cast this. Search for the perfect creature that I want to cheat into play off the top of my on the top of my library, and then it goes into play, and then you're all in big trouble. Moving on, that might be Apex Allosaur. If you need like a board wipe, cool. Apex Allosaur, that is kind of one. 10/10 dinosaur enters the battlefield, fights up to 1 target creature you don't control, and also enraged whenever it's dealt damage, it fights up to 1 target creature you don't control. Essentially, hey, oh, I fight you. Ow, you hit me. I fight you. Ow, you hit me. I fight you. Ow, you hit me. Yeah, this is a board wipe that might be a one-off because, yeah, it might just die when you do that and fight too many creatures. Or, yeah, if it gets enraged again at some point, if it survived, cool. Yeah, also, you know, indestructible things work really well with it, or giving it indestructible, I should say. Moving on, one that doesn't want to be indestructible, Worldspine Worm. 15/15 trample. When it dies, you get 3 5/5s. It also shuffles back into your library so you can get it again. What fun! Speaking of fun, everyone's favorite Blightsteel class, 11/11 for 12 mana. Again, cheating to play, lovely, not paying that. Trample, Infect, Indestructible. So yeah, a one-shot KO on any opponent. Again, with all these doubling effects that you have, with all these ways to give extra power, with all these ways to get it through, yeah, you could take a turn off of giving your commander evasion, right? You're like, okay, I've got Rogue's Passage, and I could get my commander through to, you know, maybe get another creature in play. Or, here's the thing. I could use Rogue's Passage to make my Blightsteel class unblockable and just take that player out. Let's do that. See a one-shot KO on many players in many situations with this kind of a build. Finally, yeah, Eldrazi. You've got access to a lot of them. I'm trying to point out ones that, again, don't have, like, not non-bows, but like have those like cast triggers where you're like, oh yeah, Kozilek goes along those. Still very good in the deck for what they do, obviously. But yeah, the cast trigger, you're not going to get if you just cheat and play with your commander, and that's still fine, but just want to point that out. Anyways, Hit That Betrays, no cast trigger. It's 11/11. costs 12 mana with Annihilator too. But it also has whenever one sacrifices a non-token permanent, put that card on the battlefield under control, so to steal all the things. Gross, absolutely gross, and of course pairs incredibly well with other Eldrazi that also force sacrifice. So yeah, have fun with that. But now this episode is coming to a close. It's time for me to hear from you in the comments below about your thoughts on this brand new god. What do you think of it? What do you think of it as a commander? What do you think of it as the 99 of certain decks? And also, what do you think about it as the, the backside of the card? What do you think about that? Again, I mean, obviously I probably spoke far too long on that, and just, I'm not trying to make too big of a deal about it, but like, it just kind of doesn't make sense where they're like, okay, yeah, these have requirements. This one doesn't. Haha, green. Yeah, it's very, very strange to me. And yes, I know there are other formats out there, and sure, it's probably more difficult in other formats to actually get to 10 permanents, I guess, but come on. Like, compared to the one where it's like, yeah, players need to have like 1 or less cards in hand. Huh. This is just so much easier. This is just so simple. No? Okay. Anyways, just me. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are on all that. If you are interested in this commander, make sure you check out that card list link in the description below. Stay tuned to this channel for more exciting quick takes and spoilers. And of course, as always, thanks again and have a good one. This show and episodes like this one are possible thanks to viewers like you. If you're looking for an easy way to help support this show, make sure that you like, share, and subscribe. Also, hit that bell notification icon so you don't miss any new episodes. You can also go check out our playmats and other merchandise at thecommandersquarters.com. We also have a ton of brand new t-shirt designs in stock, so make sure you check out those as well. Another easy way to support this show is with our TCG player affiliate links. So whether you're buying a deck or individual cards, you can use this general link right here or one in the description. And the final way that you can support this show is by supporting us directly by becoming a patron. There are many benefits to being a patron, and I truly couldn't do this without all of their support.